Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a look at a stack of, well, really fascinating research that's all about a tech revolution happening right in your living room. I mean, if you're a dog owner, you know that feeling. You're staring at your dog, you hear this frantic bark, and you wish you had subtitles.
And that wish is becoming a reality much faster than I think anyone expected. For decades, that gap between us and our dogs has just been guesswork.
Total guesswork.
But now, thanks to some really advanced AI, and these are models that were first built to decode human speech, we're moving past just, is my dog happy or sad? And getting much closer to actual translation.
So the era of just guessing if that tail wag means excitement or, anxiety it's ending. We're jumping straight into the data. And the big one, the hook here, comes from researchers at the University of Michigan.
And Mexico's National Institute of Astrophysics, Optics, and Electronics, They basically repurposed an AI system and created what everyone's calling the bark decoder.
A bark decoder?
It's a huge shift. They took an existing AI speech model, it's called Wav2Vec2. And what's really important here is that it was trained only on human speech. It knew absolutely nothing about dogs.
Okay, so it had no starting point for animal sounds at all.
None. They fed it all this acoustic data from dogs, and the results pretty much confirm that a dog's bark. It's growl. It's all way more informative than we've been giving them credit for.
Okay, let's unpack this. A model built to understand human linguistics, things like pitch, accent, rhythm, is now analyzing growls and yelps. So what was the success rate? What did they find?
The initial results were just striking. This bark-infused model achieved 70% accuracy in figuring out a dog's mood.
70%.
But here's the really wild part. It also accurately determined the dog's breed, its age, and its sex, just from the sound of its bark.
Just from the audio?
Just from the audio.
Well, yeah.
It proves the signal is just incredibly rich with information. It's not just noise.
70% is a massive jump from where we were. But it does raise a big question for me. Why did using a model trained on human speech work so well on dogs? What's the connection?
Well, that's where the technical genius of it comes in.
Yeah.
Wav2Vec2 is what's called a self-supervised model. So it wasn't built to understand the meaning of words like hello or goodbye.
Right.
It was built to identify robust acoustic representations. Basically, it finds underlying patterns. It teaches itself the structure of sound.
So it's not learning English or Spanish. It's learning the shared physics of how sound is structured.
Precisely. The researchers had this hypothesis that the basic acoustic features we use to distinguish human nuances, tiny changes in pitch, frequency, timing, that those might also carry information in animal sounds.
And by using this framework, they got around the biggest problem in animal research.
The data challenge, which is, as the sources point out, just monumental. I mean, can you imagine trying to get thousands of dogs into a controlled lab environment? It's impossible.
Logistically impossible, yeah.
But by repurposing this human model, the team only needed to record 74 dogs. They exposed them to specific things like ringing a doorbell over and over, or an owner talking affectionately. The AI already knew how to find complex patterns. It just had to switch its focus from our vocal cords to a dog's.
Okay, so if the model is 70% accurate on mood, what about the other 30%? Where does it fail? What's the margin of error there?
The limitation right now is that a bark is just one channel of communication. It's great at broad moods, fear, joy, aggression, but it's missing the nuance, the context. And that 30% failure rate often comes down to confusion between arousal states that sound really similar but mean totally different things. A high-pitched, fast bark could be playful, or it could be extreme anxiety. Without the visual context, the AI just can't tell.
Which is the perfect segue, because the next big leap has to involve multimodal AI. If audio gets us to 70%, we have to bring in the visual layer. And we're seeing these incredible results now with models like GPT-4o reading canine facial microexpressions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The move to combine audio and visual data is the only way we're going to push past that 70% ceiling. There was a recent study that evaluated a GPT-4 model's ability to read dog emotions just from images.
Right.
They started pretty broad. They tested on all sorts of pets, cats, rabbits, horses, and the accuracy was, just okay, about 50.2%.
So the AI is confirming what every cat owner already knows. Those guys are impossible to read.
They are notoriously difficult, yes. But when the researchers narrowed the focus only to dogs using a data set of over 1,500 images and much more refined prompts, the accuracy jumped. It went all the way up to 76.6%.
Wow.
And that really suggests that dogs are especially suited for this kind of analysis, probably because of, thousands of years of co-evolving with us to have more expressive faces.
And the key thing here is that the AI isn't just, like, guessing because the dog's mouth is open. It's using the same scientific system that animal behaviorists use.
That's right. For it to be scientifically valid, it has to. It's aligning its analysis with the Dog Facial Action Coding System, or DOGAFACS. Think of it as the official, scientifically validated dictionary for dog expressions. It breaks down every possible muscular movement in the face into something called an action unit, or AU.
Can you walk us through an example? Like, how does the AI use DOGAFACS to define an emotion we'd all recognize?
Sure. Let's take anger. If the AI predicts a dog is angry, it's looking for very specific physical cues in the image. Bared teeth, a tense posture, and ears pulled back tight and low.
And those correspond to codes in the system.
Exactly. Those correspond to specific DOGAFCS action units. AU-110 is the upper lip raise, the snarl, and AU-145 is for ears pulled back. It's seeing a precise contraction of muscles.
Okay, what about for a positive emotion like happiness?
For happiness or playfulness, it's looking for the opposite, the absence of tension. It wants to see a relaxed, open mouth, maybe the tongue is out. That corresponds to units like AU-25, lips parted, and AU-27, tongue show. But it's getting even more specific now. Modern AI can see micro-expressions we might miss, like tiny changes in eye shape or even nostril flares.
That's incredible specificity. But even at 76.6% accuracy, this visual layer must still struggle with some of the same nuanced problems the audio had, right?
It does. The biggest challenge is telling apart expressions that look similar physically but come from very different internal states. A classic example is panting.
Right.
A dog that's panting heavily because it's hot or it just ran around is going to have its mouth open and its tongue out. The AI frequently misclassifies that as happy when really the dog is just relaxed or, well, hot.
So it's confusing a biological need for an emotional state?
Exactly that. Another common mistake is seeing an open mouth and wide eyes in a really aroused dog. The AI often logs that as playful, but it might actually be pre-aggression. It could be defensive stress. It's hard to tell a happy grin from an aggressive snarl with just a picture.
So 76.6% isn't the finish line, it's the starting point.
It's the starting point for true multimodal analysis, yeah.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Because all of these breakthroughs, both sound and sight, are kind of built on this one foundational idea, that animal communication might share structured linguistic rules with our own language.
Yes, and to see if that structure exists, researchers are looking everywhere. Very briefly, there's Project CE-TIE, studying sperm whales. They just discovered that whale calls have acoustic properties that look a lot like our vowels.
A vowel.
Specifically the da vowel and I vowel sounds, and even complex diphthongs.
Okay, hang on. Why does a sperm whale's call matter to my golden retriever?
Because the researchers confirmed these sounds are controlled and intentional. They vary in length, timing, and frequency in a systematic way. That variation is what carries meaning in human speech. Finding it in whales suggests that sophisticated animal communication systems might actually contain phonetic units, the basic building blocks of sound, that carry specific meaning.
And that pivots us right back to dogs. If whales are using these building blocks, then what about our companions? This is really the core idea behind the work of Kon Slobodchikov, isn't it? He founded the startup Zoolingua.
It is. Slobodchikov's early work was just groundbreaking. He studied prairie dogs and showed that their complex calls meet very strict linguistic criteria. His team found evidence of phonemes, those basic sound units, and even syntactic structures, like grammar.
So they were combining sounds in specific orders to mean different things?
Exactly. They could communicate specific details about a predator, its color, its size, how fast it was moving.
So if prairie dogs are using complex language structure, the odds that dogs are co-evolved partners for tens of thousands of years are doing the same thing has to be extremely high.
That's the logical leap, yes. And that's Zoolingua's mission. They want to use AI to move beyond just labeling an emotion like aggressive to actually translating specific complex intent.
Like what?
Like, I want to go outside, or even something critical for a vet, like, my shoulder hurts.
But we have to talk about the elephant in the room here. There's academic resistance, right? Many biologists and linguists, they hate the word language for this. They insist on communication.
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge debate. And it really comes down to a set of criteria that a linguist named Charles Hockett established way back in the 1960s to define what human language is.
And what's the main sticking point?
One of the big ones is productivity. That's the ability to create an infinite number of new sentences from a finite set of sounds. Many traditional linguists argue that animal calls are just instinctual, that they lack that creative, novel capacity.
And Zerlingo's argument is that the evidence from prairie dogs, from whales, it proves animals are meeting these criteria.
Precisely. Slobodchikov's position is that when you find phonemes and syntax, that distinction becomes arbitrary. But at the end of the day, whether you call it language or complex communication, the practical application is what matters to you, the listener.
So why should the average dog owner care about this academic debate? What does closing this communication gap actually do for our daily lives?
It closes a massive, massive gap of misinterpretation. The research that Zerlingo cites suggests that up to 80% of pet owners misinterpret their dog's communication.
80%. Let's just slow down on that. That's a staggering number.
It is. And think about a common scenario. An owner sees their dog yawn or lick its lips, and they think, oh, he's tired or relaxed. But often that's a stress signal. It's fear.
And that misunderstanding leads to real problems.
It leads to stress, to behavioral issues, and in the most tragic cases, to abandonment, because the owner thinks the dog is just bad.
So this technology isn't a party trick. It's a genuine tool for animal welfare. It changes everything about how we meet their needs.
It lets us intervene directly. I mean, imagine a vet using a tool that tells them my abdominal area hurts, instead of just guessing based on a dog's posture.
Yeah.
The implications are revolutionary.
And it's not just about dogs. The plan is to expand this, isn't it?
That's right. Once the algorithms are solid for dogs, Zerlingo plans to use the same methods for cats, horses, sheep, goats. The potential for a universal animal translator is just enormous.
But for now, the focus is on dogs.
Right now, the focus is perfecting that system, closing that 80% misinterpretation gap, and getting the tech ready for everyone.
So what does this all mean? We've traced this incredible journey from 70% mood recognition with audio models up to 76.6% with AI reading microexpressions. We know the technology is here. The question is, when does it leave the lab and get to us?
Well, the timeline is, it's extremely aggressive. Zerlingo estimates that a minimum viable product, so a functional dog translator that can go beyond mood to specific intent, could be available to consumers in about 18 months.
18 months.
Given the source timelines, that puts a universal dog translator in the hands of the average pet owner by, say, early 2027. This isn't science fiction anymore. It is right on our doorstep.
That is just profound. And it leads us to a final provocative thought for you to think about. If this AI really does prove that dogs and other animals are communicating not just with instinct, but using abstract structures like words and syntax.
If they meet Hackett's criteria, if they're proven to have a true language.
Exactly. What does this new understanding of their sophisticated inner world mean for the legal and ethical lines we've drawn between humans and animals? If they have language, their status has to fundamentally change.
It forces us to grapple with a whole new definition of sapience.
We'll leave that one with you for now. Stay curious.